In this video, we're going to continue working on our scene manager, and we're going to add in a way to transition between scenes, and we're going to add in some really basic transitions. So here we have a splash scene for a game, transition to a made with Godot scene, which then transitions to our main menu. This is a very simple way of doing that, and in the future, we're going to expand on this scene manager, add in a lot of cool transitions and a lot of other features to our scene manager that are very useful. So if you want to learn how to implement scene management in your Godot game, keep on watching. Alrighty. So in the last video, we set up kind of our main hierarchy with our core engine. We set up our app with our scene root, our UI root, and our audio root. Added some labels just to show that they were all active and kind of set up our folder structure. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in a Godot logo, a splash logo, and FFF Forward is a free font you can download online. And then I'll also have these on the itch page so you can download those. We'll need those resources to continue on with what we're going to do. First things first, we're going to open up the font. I always disable anti-aliasing. I usually disable subpixel. I've seen some people say enable multi-channel, but honest to goodness, I usually just leave that unchecked. And then, yeah, I leave generate bitmaps off. And that should help create a font that is super nice. So even if what we really want to is within assets, we can create a, or even better, let's open up one of these. Let's go to the label, create a new label settings, pick the font, quick load. There we go. Scene root is active. Perfect. And then we'll save this label settings. Do save as, let's call it font. I think that double saved it in here. Don't let's right there. So I'm going to bring that back up to assets. Perfect. So now we can save the scene, close it down, and then we can just go to these other scenes and just do on the label settings quick load, and it'll pull it up. Drag that down a little, and then go to audio root as well. We're going to get rid of these any second now, but I just want to show you just adding in the fonts real quick. So then, like if we run this, there we go. Font's in there. Font looks good. I just noticed that I misspelled active on UI root, but we're going to leave that because it's going away soon. Alrighty. So what we're going to do is we've got all of that. Perfect. We're going to go down to core engine. And we're going to add in, we got our scene manager, scene root. Perfect. We're going to add in a new folder, and we're going to call this menu. Within menu, we're going to create a folder called splash. And then within splash, we're going to have two more folders. One's going to be called Godot, and then one's going to be called logo. Perfect. And here, we're going to create a new scene. We're going to call it logo. 2D scenes. Perfect. And then we're going to add two nodes. We're going to add a color rect, and then we're going to add a sprite 2D. Actually, let's do a texture rect. Why not? And then for that texture, we're going to drag in splash. Perfect. And then, so this is actually slightly bigger than the dimensions. So like if we open up this, it's 1280 by 720. So let's just go into our project settings, and where's window? Perfect. So there's that. And then color rect, we're actually going to set this to jet black. And it is also going to be 1280 by 720. And then it needs to go on top. So it should be blocking that. The reason why we want it to block that is we're not going to add a transition manager in this episode. That'll be next episode. But who wants non-fun transitions between scenes? So we're just going to use an animation player to add in some fake transitions between scenes before we implement like an actual node that manages all of our cool transitions. So yeah, last thing we're going to add is an animation player. I always call this animator because who on earth wants to write animation player? And then let's go to the animator. We're going to add a new animation, and we're just going to call it animation. Doesn't matter. You can call it whatever. And what we're going to do is we're literally just going to take the texture rect, the color rect, and we're just going to key the size. And so we're going to do this over 6 seconds. And then I'm just going to make this lock to every second. So we go here, insert a key. Let's go to 5, insert a key, and then 6, insert a key. Come to this one, and perfect. And we go here. Perfect. So now if you play this animation, it'll fade open. It'll show the logo. Go like that. 6 seconds feels long. Let's go 5, and we'll just boot these back a second. Let's watch that again. So yeah, fades open, and then fades close. Perfect. Super simple. So now we're just going to attach a script to this. Extends node. Perfect. We're going to add our ready call for our animator. Sweet. And then we're going to do func ready. Nope. Don't know why. Oh, I do know why draw came up, because it's alphabetical. And we're going to say animator dot animation underscore finish dot connect. We're going to make a function called on animation finished. It's going to get mad at us because that doesn't exist. And we're going to say animator dot play, and we call this animation. Call it whatever. Now we're going to add in this function. So function on animation finished. And then this has to pass in an animation name of type string. It's going to be a void. And then literally all we're going to do is we're going to call scene manager dot change scene. And we're going to switch it to scene logo Godot. So it's going to yell at us again because this right here doesn't exist. So if we want, we can actually literally just put pass for now, and we'll come back and unblock that. But that's everything that goes into making our logo. So we're literally going to duplicate this again, and we're going to create a new scene called, actually we'll call it Logo Godot. And then this one's going to be slightly different. So we're going to add a color rect in the background. Set it to 1280 by 720. Perfect. We're going to change the background color to 0099FF. That's my blue. And then we're going to add we're going to add a control node, drop that inside. And then underneath that, we're going to add a center container. I don't think I've used these nodes before, so I'm going to go over them in 1 second. So just have a little patience with me. And we're going to add a H box container and drop it under there. So control nodes are Godot's built-in GUI system, and it kind of takes a little bit of time to figure out how to use it. So center container keeps all of its children in the center of its area. So there's 2 ways you can do this. You can drag to manually size this, and then anything will be where like a line from here to here and here to here meet. It'll keep it right here. However, they also have positions, so you can anchor something based on a position. So its size. It's like if I change this, you'll see how that's changing. So I could make it that size. I change its position, its rotation, scale, etc. This is not a tutorial on that. Those of you that don't know what's going on, I just want to give you a little background. I prefer to do anchors. So anchors still exist with different screen sizes. So full rect means it's basically going to expand to take up that full size. So if we go in here, and we go full rect, container sizing, expand, and it is not working how I expected it to, because I still don't even know everything about these. Theoretically, though, the way this works is it should expand to fill the whole container. But if we set the size of this container, then see how like this expands now to fill its parent container, and then an H box. See how that's at the center because we have the center container, so it keeps it at the center. Now all the children of an H box container keep everything horizontally next to each other. So let's do a text direct, and then we're going to add a label underneath that. So this text direct is going to have our Godot logo, and it's going to be absolutely ginormous. So we're going to tone it down to 64 by 64. And keep size. No, we're going to fit width. That's too small. Let's do 128 by 128. I like that. That looks good. Happy Godot. And then we go into the label. Label settings, quick load, add our font. What just happened? There we go. And we'll type in made with Godot. Center, center. Let's go into the font. So now if we change this font, because this is a custom font, it's actually going to change everything. So I'm going to not use those font settings. We're going to do new label settings. And then we're going to quick load the font. And then I'm going to set this to 48. And then I'm also going to put a black outline of, let's go 6 pixels around it. So we got our text direct. We've got this. And then let's come down. So horizontal and vertical alignment. So within that, it's going to be center, center. And then let's go to layout, transform, no, container sizing, expand, fill. Okay, so now what that has done is that has expanded, and now see how this is the same vertical size as that. So now this text should center perfect, just like that. And the way the font is, the font high, like rides a little high. But yeah, so now we have this made with Godot, and then we're going to add in our animation player. Call it animator. We're going to add a script. We'll call it logo Godot. And then, do I still have that? I do. Perfect. And this one, we're just going to switch to main menu because that's where it's going to go. So now we just need to go into the animator. One more thing. We got to add a color rect above all of this. And this will be black, 1280 by 720. Now we make a new animation. Call it whatever you want. I'm going to call this animation. And same thing. 5 seconds. I'm just going to snap it to 1 second. So this is like what you snap to. We're going to go to this color rect and we're going to create it. Go to 1 second, create it. Go to 4 seconds, create it. Go to 5 seconds, create it. Then we're going to manually edit these to take the alphas down. And this will be our super hacky animation transition. Perfect. Look at that. And then one more scene to make. Got to make our main menu. So create a new scene, call it main menu. And then we're going to control node, color rect, and a label. Actually, center container. Label under the center container. Control 1280 by 720. Full rect. And then remember, we got to reset the position. Color rect, perfect. This is going to be anchored, and it's going to expand full rect. And now we'll change the color to 099FF. Okay, let's go to new label settings. Center. I'm just gonna call this main menu. Let's go all caps actually. Perfect. And then this will go font, quick load. Let's just go up to 64. And then outline, because outlines are dope. So these are all in position, see that? So if we change that to full rect, there we go. Now it takes up that, and the center label goes there into the center. Lovely. And now that says main menu. All right, so there's the 3 scenes that we're going to add to our little scene tree. So now what we need to do is actually work on our scene manager. So this scene manager obviously is the first iteration. We're going to add a lot of complex functionality to it. But for now, we're just going to have some very basic stuff. So let's create a new script and call it scenemanager.gd. So some of you might already be suspecting this. And yes, this needs to be a global. So we're going to find our core engine, scenemanager.gd, call it scene manager, add it in as a global because we need global access to it so we can do all of the good stuff with it. Now we can get into the code. So this actually isn't going to be a crazy long scene. It'll be pretty quick, but it'll be the starting base. So first thing we're going to add is constant scenes equals, and then we're going to set up a dictionary in here, okay? So we call this logo splash, and this is going to be blank for now. And then we're going to have logo Godot, some good kind of rhyming-ish there. And then that will also be blank for now, don't worry. And then the next one's going to be main menu. And this will be blank, surprisingly, or not. So for those of you who don't know what a dictionary is, because I don't think we've used them yet on the channel, a dictionary is a data structure, so it holds data, and it holds it in what we call key value pairs. So this is the key, and this is the value. So basically, it's like an array, but arrays are always numbered. So there's like position 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the same thing, except for instead of positions, we have a key, which in this case is a string. You could make the key numbers if you wanted to, and then a value can also be numbers. But we're using strings for what we're doing now. So it's basically, instead of looking at position 7, I look for, logo splash, and it returns whatever's on this side of that colon, which will be whatever we put in these quotes because it's a string. So that's what a dictionary is. Very useful. Now, what goes in here is going to be, I'm going to rename this real quick. Sorry, I know I just kind of jumped from one thought to another, but this is bugging me, so I'm going to change that. So what goes in here is going to be what we call a UID. So if you right-click a scene or anything, you can hit copy UID, and then we're going to paste that in there. And we're going to do that for logo Godot scene, and then we're going to do that for the main menu scene. So UID, I believe, and if people need to fact check me, they can. Why is that only one? Interesting. Anyways, it stands for unique identifier. So in older versions of Godot, if you moved like a file system structure, it would change like the path of this scene. And then you have to go into wherever you have that scene stored, and you have to re-update the path, and it was incredibly annoying. So Godot made a system where each scene and resource, so like this script has a UID, everything has a unique identifier. And so no matter where it is within the file system, I did not mean to do that. What did I just move down there? Scene manager, that needs to go into core engine. Perfect. Actually, let's do that. Move scene root in here. We can take the we can take the UID, and it's not going to change. We can move it back here, and it's going to stay the same. So for our scenes, we have the unique identifier, and that's how we tell Godot exactly what scene to look for. We say, hey, look for whatever has this unique identifier, and it's going to go, oh, logo splash scene has that. And then that's how we reference the scene, no matter how many times we reorganize our scene structure. So UIDs are phenomenal for managing scenes and referencing scenes. And then I like to put it in a dictionary and have the keys be something useful and relevant, because searching by UIDs would be a nightmare. And then in my code, I know if I'm going to the main menu or logo Godot. I just noticed I said logo Fado, but it's logo Godot. It just makes it cleaner. All right, let's move on. We're going to have our current scene, which is going to be a node, and we're going to make it null. And then we're going to add a function called change scene, and it's going to take a string of scene name, and it'll be a void function. Perfect. All right. So this is actually not going to be that long of a function to get all of this done. So we're going to say if not scenes dot has. So we can look within the dictionary and see if scenes has that key. And if it doesn't, we're going to push an error to the console that says scene %s, oops, %s not found in scenes scene manager dictionary. Scene name. So this little symbol right here just says replace that with whatever follows. So it's just whatever the scene name is, it's going to put that right there. That's just a little shorthand instead of splitting this with like a comma this and then comma again, or like remaking a string. Good little thing to know. If you want to learn more about those, you can look it up on the Godot docs. All right, var scene hath equals scenes, and then we're going to look up scene name. So we're going to get the path, and then we're going to get a packed scene. So once we have a scene path, we actually have to load it into what's called a packed scene, and then the packed scene is what actually gets like displayed on the actual game. So we're getting the scene path from the dictionary, and then we're just loading it into what's called a packed scene. So now we're going to check to see that the packed scene has loaded successfully. We don't want to add it if it hasn't loaded. So if packed scene equals null, we're going to push an error again, and we're going to say failed to load scene at path, and then ampersand. That's not %s. Oops, I did this wrong. I just realized that. I was looking at my other code, and I was like, wait a minute, I did something wrong. This is not a comma right here. This is a % that goes right there. So that says, hey, replace that with a string, which is this right here. And so that's what we're checking right here. Same thing, same kind of notation, and we're checking if the pack scene loaded correctly. If not, push the error and then go. So now that we have the pack scene, we need to instantiate it. I think I said that it loads the packed scene. I forgot to say that it instantiates it. So new scene equals packed scene dot instantiate. Perfect. And then we're going to say if current scene. So now this goes back to the current scene manager. Nope, that's not what we wanted. We wanted current scene. So if current scene exists, meaning like there is already a scene running, we are going to get rid of it. So we're going to queue free. And then we're going to set current scene equal to new scene. And then we're going to say game.scene.add child current scene. All right, let's go over this one more time. So check that the dictionary actually has the scene that we're going to. Then we're going to load that scene into what's called a packed scene. Make sure the scene loaded, instantiate it, and then if there's a current scene, get rid of it, and then we're going to add the new scene. So this right here, game.scene.addChild, if you remember, is from the core of the game, and that's our actual current scene. So in our hierarchy app scene root is where we add the scenes that we're actually looking at. And that's what we're referencing in scene manager. So game.scene.addChild. We're saying, hey, add the new scene under this scene. And that's what's actually going to add it to the frame. So now if we go to logo Godot and we get rid of that, what on earth just happened? Perfect. Let's save this real quick. That'll go away in a second because it's a global. So then let's get rid of that pass. And then scene manager. And then main menu doesn't have a scene manager. Why is that not working? Project. Oh, we must have forgot to add scene manager. I thought I went over that, but I guess not. Yeah, there we go. Now it all goes away. Everything's working as expected. Alrighty, so the last thing we need to do is we need to go to game, and under ready, we need to actually add the scene we want to the tree. So we're just going to say, hey, scene manager, change scene, and we'd go to logo splash. So now let's run this and see how many things are broken. Nice. Nothing's working. Lovely. So change scene, logo splash, scene manager, logo splash equals that. Okay. Let's run it again. Yep, see, so nothing's getting added right there. Interesting. Let's try something. Let's go to scene manager. And instead of having this line, let's have new scene. Still nothing. Nothing's being added to scene root. Very, very interesting. Okay, so what I just noticed is none of our globals are being added. So something is going wrong. Yep. So I'm just checking everything, making sure everything's the same as my other project, which it is. So when we run it under remote, we should see root, game, scene manager, app, and then all the other stuff. If we hit run the project here, we just see app, scene, root. There we go. I was under local, that's why root. Okay, app, scene, root. Scene root is active, UI root, audio root. Okay, but it's still not being added. So something's going on where it is not getting added. So scene manager, change scene to logo splash. So now let's use our handy dandy print function. So we're going to print current scene, and let's see what runs now. Okay, so it's null. Good to know. So that means something is having here. So let's go to debugger, errors. Okay, so it's trying resource file not found res/logo splash. So something's going on with our scene manager. Scenes. not scenes that has scene name. So it's not pushing that error. Failed to load scene path. So it's not loading in the right path. So scene path equals scenes, scene name, scene name. Okay, so let's add a print statement in here to figure out why it's not finding our scene path. Okay, so it prints that. That's what we're looking for. Oh, that's why. This needs to load the scene path, not the scene name. It was trying to load the scene name, not the scene path. Okay, now everything should work. Perfect. Okay, so it goes to bills. And then it goes to made with Godot. And then it goes to the main menu. Okay, that's exactly what we were looking for. Let's go get rid of that print statement here. And then the last thing that you might have noticed is that the Godot logo flashed real quick. That has to come with boot splash. So show image, take that off, and then I always set this to just be jet black because that's what my transition color is. And now it goes black and then it fades to the bills. So that's how you get rid of that. So it goes to the logo, then made with Godot, and then it transitions to the main menu. Perfect. So there we have it. That is an extremely basic scene manager, and it has one fatal flaw that some of you might be seeing, and we're going to address that in the future. I just want to mention that now, so what it is. Sometimes if you have a massive scene, it can take seconds, like 10, 15 seconds to load massive scenes. And so the way Godot works is when you call this, it will not progress until this call is done. So your game will freeze during the duration it's loaded. And then once it's loaded, then the game will continue. We don't want that. That's really bad for your game to freeze. So Godot has a built-in method of loading things in the background. So what we're eventually going to build this into is a scene manager that has a list of all of the currently loaded scenes and all of the scenes that we're requesting to load. And so it'll check and say, hey, the scene that we want to switch to is in the list of loaded scenes. If not, the scene manager will automatically transition to a loading screen that'll have a progress bar. And then once that scene is loaded, then it'll transition to that scene. Or if the scene is already loaded, it'll just go straight to that after playing the transition. So we'll talk more about that, not in the next video, but probably the video after. The next video, we're going to focus on the transition manager, and we're going to go over how you can make all kinds of custom and cool transitions to transition from one scene to another. That's all handled within one script instead of doing it individually in each scene like we've been doing here with an animation player. So if you want to learn how to do that, keep your eyes out for the next video. And if you enjoyed this video, leave a comment, like, subscribe, share, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.